These next few pages of the revision guide on ionic bonding gives a lot of examples, and as mentioned in previous videos, when an example is given in the revision guide, it's syllabus specific and therefore highly examinable on. So the best way to use these pages for revision, we would advise that you memorize this, which is basically the word equation and the symbol equation, and the last part of the dot and cross diagram, which is like how it ends up. So all these steps in between is just basically explaining how you got from A to B, but basically they'll usually examine you on just the B part. So memorize this and this for the sodium and chlorine to produce sodium chloride, and memorize this, which is the magnesium plus oxygen equals magnesium oxide, and the dot and cross diagram, the second part, so this and this. And for the sodium and oxygen produce sodium oxide, memorize this, and of course the second part of the dot and cross diagram, which is this part here. These guys are highly examinable on, and they're good, easy, like 2, 3, 4 marks. So don't be careless. This is like, they made it very clear, example 1, example 2, example 3. So it's gonna come up. So don't throw easy marks away. And here's an example 4 on ionic bonding, which is magnesium equals magnesium chloride, and then memorize this part of the dot and cross diagram as it is. It's very important. The question reads, magnesium oxide is an ionic compound. Magnesium Mg reacts with oxygen O2. Magnesium oxide MgO is made. Write a balanced symbol equation for this reaction. So for 2 marks, they're looking for the symbol equation, and the second mark for the balancing of the symbol equation. So basically, you're being asked to recall this part of your memory. We had to put the numbers in because the revision guide actually made a mistake, but it's just a small mistake, so it doesn't really matter. Is if you write this down as it is, then you'll get to 2 marks, which is 2Mg plus O2 equals 2MgO. So they didn't necessarily have to ask you about magnesium and oxygen. They could have asked you about sodium and oxygen, or the other example like sodium and chlorine, or on the other page up here, which is about magnesium and chlorine to produce magnesium chloride. So the rest of the exam question then reads, magnesium has an electronic structure of 282. Oxygen has an electronic structure of 26. Draw a dot and cross diagram to show the bonding in magnesium oxide, MgO. Show the charges on the ions formed. So for 2 marks, the dot and cross diagram between magnesium and oxygen will look like the dot and cross diagram, which is this right here. So if you draw these two as it is, the 2 marks actually come from the overall charges at the end, where Mg is 2 plus and O is 2 minus, and the second mark actually comes from the outer electrons, where 2 electrons come from the magnesium and goes to the oxygen. So important to identify where the marks come from and where you need to concentrate your revising from the revision book. So the next question reads, this question is about chemical bonding. Look at the diagrams. They show the electronic structure of sodium and of chlorine. So as shown in the diagram, here's your sodium 281 and your chlorine 287. So describe the bonding in sodium chloride, NaCl, including your answer, a dot and cross diagram, and the charges on the ions formed. And what you'll get is 2 marks for this. So they're basically asking you to draw the second dot and cross diagram. So this question reinforces the importance of memorizing examples given in this revision book, because examples are syllabus specific and therefore highly examinable on. So throughout the book, like for example in this ionic bonding section here, when they lay out like a list where it says example 1, example 2, example 3, they're gonna come up, okay, or they definitely have a high chance of coming up. So don't waste these easy marks by neglecting these examples. Anywhere there's an example given, it's likely to be examined on. So for this 2 marks, what you need to do is draw these two here as they are, with the charges and how the sodium electron has been given to the Cl to give you this, to give Cl a minus, an overall minus charge, and Na overall +1 charge. This next question is testing your knowledge of higher tier material. If we zoom in, it reads, this question is about ionic compounds. Look at the diagram. It shows the structure of a solid sodium chloride as shown. So the sodium chloride has a high melting point. Explain why. Use ideas about forces between particles for 2 marks. So they're basically asking you to recall your memory from this section here, structure and physical properties. It's talking about sodium chloride and magnesium oxide, but the point is that the question could have been reworded for MgO or NaCl. So in this case, it's for NaCl. So you need to regurgitate this sentence here, but without the MgO information. So you write sodium chloride form giant ionic lattices in which positive and negative ions are electrostatically attracted to each other. And this will actually get you to 2 marks, because the 2 marks are coming from the giant ionic lattices and the electrostatically attracted part. So write all this to get you 2 marks. So the question then continues for 1 mark. It tells you that solid sodium chloride does not conduct electricity. Explain why. Well, they're basically asking you to recall this last bullet point here, where it says sodium chloride does not conduct electricity when solid because the ions are held in place and can't move. However, the 1 mark question could have asked you about this bullet point instead, where they can't conduct electricity when molten or in solution because the charged ions are free to move about. The point is you need to memorize all of this and know when to recall it, depending on what the question is asking. So read the question carefully. The next question is the last question that we have, asking about ionic bonding. So if we zoom in and get it out of the way. So oxygen reacts with sodium, sodium oxide is made. The electronic structure of oxygen is 2,6. The electronic structure of sodium is 2,8,1. So describe the bonding in sodium oxide Na2O. Your answer should include a dot and cross diagram and the charges on the ions made. And for this, you'll get 2 marks. Right. So when reading this question, it should be apparent to you that they are yet again asking you to recall an example given in the revision guide, reinforcing the importance of memorizing every example given in the book, because examples are syllabus specific and therefore highly examinable, as shown here as the proof. So they're basically asking you for this question to recall your information from here, which is about sodium and oxygen producing sodium oxide, but more importantly, the second part of the dot and cross diagram to give you the 2 marks. So if we zoom in, to get the 2 marks, you need to draw this as it is, showing you the overall +1 charges on the Na plus ion and the overall 2 minus charges on the oxygen ion. That's for the 1 mark, the charges, and for the 2nd mark, showing that how the electrons from the Na is given to the O to give you the 2 minus, which is basically these 2 electrons here on the O coming from the Na. So draw this as it is to get the 2 marks, and again, memorize all the examples given in this book.